And I'm Cornelius Shelp, and I'm a accessibility coordinator for the state. I also teach at Consulting Solutions, and I also develop mobile apps. And in fact, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Uh, Before we get started, I've been with the Adobe Users Group about 15 years, so I'm a long timer. And I teach just about everything Adobe. It used to be Macromedia, but now Adobe. Uh, but I'm moving more and more to mobile apps because I think that's where the future is. Uh, there's a boatload, and that's a technical term, of ways of creating mobile apps. Okay, uh, you can create native apps, or you can create it using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Which begs the first question, and that is, how many of you guys are somewhat proficient in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? About half of you guys, okay? That's some technology that is the core of everything web, right? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In fact, if you're going to do anything web, you got to know those three things. I mean, HTML, everything revolves around HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The class I used to teach at Consulting Solution, we do a lot of stuff in Dreamweaver, Muse, which is going away, by the way, and various other technologies. They all employ HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And there are some frameworks that you can use with those technology to make things mobile friendly. Let me just talk about a few of them. How many have heard of jQuery Mobile, right? It's a JavaScript framework that allows you to take your website and make it look like an app. Okay, and that's in fact the three apps you'll see. I'm going to show you later on that I have on not Adobe, but on Google Play. It's done with jQuery Mobile, but it's basically a website that's been designed to look like a mobile device. Okay, now excuse me, I'm a little bit congested today. So what we're going to talk about tonight is how to convert a simple website What we're going to talk about tonight is how to convert a simple, and emphasis is on the word simple, website into a mobile app, okay? And we're going to use 4 different techniques in doing that, okay? We're going to use 3. We probably won't have time to get to, and I hadn't completed it yet, using Android Studio. What we will do is use all of the Phonegap techniques, hopefully, I believe, within the time allotted, depending upon the time. We will try to cover at least 3 of these 4 different techniques. And they vary depending upon your skill set. So we're going to look at Phonegap Bill, which is a technique. Phonegap Bill, Phonegap Desktop, and then Phonegap CLI. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. And then there's another way of doing it. You can also use Android Studio, which is a IDE that's used to integrated device environment that's used to create native apps as well. We're going to do 3 of those 4 different techniques. So the question is, why do you want to use these tools, if you will, to create apps? Because it's easy. That's number 1. Okay, and you will see how easy it is. And when you see it, you're going to say, man, I could have been doing that a long time ago, type attitude. You ever had one of those moments? Okay. So you could learn some native languages like Java. How many of you know Java? Anybody in here? One person? Okay. It's a real difficult language to learn, right? What about Objective-C? Anybody know Objective-C or Swift? Okay. Those are native languages that are used to create mobile apps. However, you can use simple technology like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to create your app. Basically, it's a website that's wrapped in a package, a web view, if you will, is what it's called, and displayed on a mobile device. That is a phone or a tablet. Okay, and we'll see that. Now, I just discovered this term about a month ago, and I was really jazzed about it because I was really trying to learn Android Studio, and it was consuming a lot of my time trying to learn Android Studio, trying to learn Java, which is, the big program. Um, and I found this term just recently called progressive web app. Anybody heard of progressive? What is that? What is progressive web app?
All I know about it is that you can create in one programming environment something that will work on Android, iPhone, and on the computer.
Right.
So you only have to program it once.
And what the good news about this progressive web app is that it takes your standard HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and make an app out of it, right? And you can use it on Android, iOS, and I don't know too many people developing on Windows. So you might have a few folks developing Windows or Windows 8. I don't know. Every time I see an advertisement for an app download, it's either Android or iOS. Very seldom do I see Windows, but you can develop on Windows as well. And we'll see that in our first example. Now, the advantage is if using the right framework, now there's different frameworks that you can use. Let me talk about a few of those. The one that I use is called jQuery Mobile, okay? And basically, it takes your content and make it look like a mobile device. And I'm going to show you an example of some of my some of my apps that I've created and that I have up on the Google Play Store. It's basically a website that looks like an app. Okay, so I use jQuery Mobile. Another one, how many of you have heard of Bootstrap? Another popular framework is used to create responsive websites. The key is you want to create responsive website in order to make it a mobile app, because when you rotate it, you want it to scale accordingly, whether it be on a phone or a tablet. And then how many have heard of AngularJS? Another very popular framework, right? So you can use whatever technology you want, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. When I say HTML, I'm talking about HTML5, okay? Because HTML5 is mobile friendly. I'm not talking about HTML4 earlier, but HTML5, CSS3, which is the newer standard, and then JavaScript. And then you can use whatever framework you want, okay, to create your website. So all you got to do is create your website. And this class is not designed to create a website, okay? We're going to just do what we call a hello world example. How many of you know that? Whenever you learn program, first thing you learn is what? Hello world, right? Any book you write in programming will have hello world as the opening example. So why can you use these technology? Well, in the past you used to couldn't do it, right? In the past you used to have a mobile device and a website. Now you can have a website and a mobile device with website and a mobile app with the same code base, the same code, if you will, for both. In fact, if you go to my website, you see the same apps that I have out on the Google Play Store. Exact same code, no difference at all. Okay, the only difference is it's just wrapped in a package, as it were, APK, Android package is what it's called. So what makes it possible? Well, there's a lot of enhancement in these technologies. HTML5 has come up to age, right? There's a lot of semantic tags in HTML that makes it easier to do things. For example, there's a tag called video. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what to put in a video tag, right? What about audio? You have to be a rocket scientist to know what's in. What about a menu tag? Okay, so these tags are given some meaningful names that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what they do, right? And so HTML5 has come up to age, as it were. CSS has come up to age. You can do things you couldn't do in the past with previous version of CSS. You can do 3D. You can do 2D. You can do transformation. You can do shadows, right? A lot of things you couldn't do in the past with CSS, now you can do. And then JavaScript has basically, it was kind of losing grace a while back, but now it's basically back in the mainstream. So those three technologies, which is the core of any web content, and most people know how to do it, and it's the easiest technology to learn as opposed to the native counterparts. Then we have the responsive design, okay? Flexbox, grid, various types of responsive design that basically scale to various media types. You got faster processors on the phone, right? How many of you have smartphones? Okay. How many have dumb phones? Not too many people. Every now and then I get a person with a dumb phone, right? But most of us have smartphones today, right? That have fast processors that can do multiple applications at the same time. In fact, I do that quite often. I could be on the phone and look behind the scene and work on an app at the same time, look up a contact information. We talked about the frameworks already, and then the easy-to-use tools. Again, we'll talk about these: Phonegap Bill, Phonegap CLI, Phonegap Desktop. In fact, there's also Phonegap Mobile. We'll talk about that one as well. The biggest advantage of creating apps using this progressive web application methodology is the cost. If you Google how much does it cost to create an app, it ranges anywhere from $3,000 to $100,000. How many of you got that kind of money on hand? Not many of us, right? It depends upon the complexity of the app. It can cost you a lot of money, particularly if it's a native app, right? So you can really save yourself a lot of money if you create an app, create a website, a responsive website, and just convert it to an app. In fact, the maintenance cost alone is 10 times smaller than a native app, according to some stats. Now, there's an exception to the rule. With rules, there are always exceptions, right? The exception that you want to take is that if you're creating a game, right, or something that is very graphic intensive, then you might want to go to a native app because you need that performance. But other than that, if you're creating a simple database-driven application or text-based or just graphics or whatever, graphics and text, it doesn't take much computing power to run those type of applications. So we're going to look at 3 of these 4 different techniques. Okay, Phonegap Bill, as I mentioned, that's for beginners. And then Phonegap Desktop, that's for intermediate users. We look at Phonegap CLI, that's the command line. That's literally the DOS prompt. You remember the DOS prompt? Y'all remember that? Windows. That's for advanced users. And then Android Studio. Those are for expert users. Okay, we probably won't get to that tonight, but we will cover, hopefully, these first 3. Now, let me just balance this. Even though I'm covering these, there are literally dozens of applications. Most of them are free, I may add, on the web that allows you to take your content and convert it to an app. Okay, you Google, app builders, and you literally get a whole list of apps, links rather, to various locations of. So let's look at. We got 4 options that we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at option 1, which is called Phonegap Bill. Now, Phonegap Bill is a cloud-based service that basically takes your app, your website, that is, when you zip it up, you send it to the cloud, and it converts an app for you. I mean, literally in no time flat. And when you see that, you're going to say, man, I wish I knew that a long time ago. Okay, so first thing, let's look at that. So let's look at the first phase. And I got these by phases, if you will. And let me just pull up. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah.
Would those notes be available?
Yeah, I can send those to Donna, and she can send them out to everyone. I wanted to make this out a website, but I didn't have time to. But yes, we will.
I can put it,
I can send this to you.
recording up there, I can include this as a PDF with that.
Okay, so let's look at the different phases that we're going to be using in this option 1, this Phonegap Bill. So first of all, we're going to create a website. Okay, actually, I already have a website created for the sake of time. But you could use whatever website you want. So if you got a website on your computer, you can just take this website right here and use it. And then we're going to create a debug version of the app. Okay, we're going to create a debug. Debug version is a version that you.
Quick question here. Now you talked about using WebSockets with the HTML, CSS. So So would this work or not for something, a CMS like WordPress-based website?
I've never tested it on, but I don't think there's any reason why I shouldn't, because it's based off HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I'm not 100% sure of that, but you could probably test it out and see if it works. Good question. So first thing we want to do is create a website or use an existing website. Then we'll create a debug version of the website, a debug version of the app, as it were. And then we're going to add some access to that app to make it more user-friendly to the Apple Store, or the App Store rather. And then in order for you to submit the app, and this is the hardest thing that I had to overcome, was you have to digitally sign the app in order to send it to Google Play or the Apple Store. And then once you sign it, then you upload it. Okay, so those are the 6 phases that we're going to be doing in this first example. And you may say, man, that seems like a lot. Well, you're going to see in a minute, it's really not a whole lot, except for maybe getting it up to the Google Play Store. That takes a little bit more effort. But creating the app itself, literally within about 5 minutes. It's taken me more time to talk about it than actually to do it if I didn't have to talk about it. So let's look at the first phase, create an app. Well, I already have an app created. Let me just go to it, show it to you. I think I have that open. So I have this Hello World app, right? Created, and I'm going to double click on it to show you what it is. Again, it's nothing fancy, but functional. It's just a website with Phonegap and a little icon image by it.
Is Phonegap something you need to like look up and download? Is it an application out there?
Yeah, it is. It's a cloud-based service. Do you have Creative Cloud?
Yeah.
You have access to it, and I'll show you that in a minute.
It's one of the applications.
Good question. It's one of the applications that comes with Creative Cloud, and I believe you don't even need to have Creative Cloud to use it. So, but you're limited to how many you can do. If you have Creative Cloud, you can do more. So anyway, this is basically a website. You've done any websites, you have your index.html, right? That's your home page, for crying out loud, right? And then you have a JavaScript folder with JavaScript files in it. You have your image folder and you have CSS folder, right? So these are the basic folders for a website, and basically that's what this file is consisting of. It has this index file. I can open it up in Dreamweaver, and you can see it's standard HTML content. So basically what you have, there's a lot of comments, and again, this was automatically created for me. I didn't actually create this. The next option created this for me. Well, basically you have standard HTML code here. So there's nothing new here to you guys, okay? With a few exceptions, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So create your website or use an existing website. So if you got an old website out there, use it. Okay. Now again, you want to make it responsive. If you can, it doesn't have to be responsive, but it'd be best if you can make it responsive using some type of responsive framework. Now, there are 2 things you need to do to your existing website to make it mobile friendly and mobile ready. Okay, so let's talk about each one of those in turn. First one is you want to create this meta tag right here that you see that makes it mobile friendly. So this takes your website and makes it fit within the viewport of your phone or your tablet. That's what that metadata. A standard website, you don't need that, right? But if you're going to take your website and make it mobile friendly, I promise you every mobile app will have this tag, bar none. Okay? So you need to have this meta tag. It's the same all the time, so once you do it, Or you do like me, because I'm not as bright as you guys, I cut, paste, and update things. CPU, cut, paste, and update. Okay? And so I just cut this out somewhere and just paste it in. So that's the first thing you need to do. Take your standard website, give it a metadata name viewport, and this basically tells it to scale to the right size. And I'm not going into all the technical details because this is a beginner's class. You can go on any website, and I promise you, and you'll find out all the information you need about this. But believe me, it's always the same for the most part. And that's the first thing you need to do to your standard website. Give it a viewport meta tag. The second thing you want to do is give it a script tag with a link to this Cordova, which is the same thing as Phonegap, by the way, .js. So you want to give it that script tag, and you want to typically put it at the right before the closing body tag, which is standard for most websites when you put in your JavaScript. So the page loads before the JavaScript loads. Okay. Again, it's always the same. So these are the only two things, minor changes you need to make to your existing responsive website, right, to make it mobile friendly and mobile ready. Okay. One of these make it mobile friendly, and that makes it mobile ready, if you will. Those are only two things. How many with a little effort think you can do those? Copy 2 lines of code and paste it to your website. Okay, that's it. So you basically set the stage for creating an app just by doing those 2 simple steps. Okay, so once we have that, in fact, I can just show you in this Dreamweaver version, you can see that I have that, I think, okay, you see right here, I have this tag. Now, you don't need this right here. With HTML5, you don't necessarily need the type attribute. But you see I had that script tag, and then up in the head, I had that meta tag. Okay, and there's some other meta tags, don't worry yourself about, but this is one you definitely need. Okay, so there you have it. Now that we've created our website and tweaked it, if you will, to make it mobile friendly or mobile ready, let's make an app out of it. Okay, fairly easy. So what you got to do is take your web content and zip it. How many of you know how to zip a file? Crying out loud. So let's do that. So I'm going to take my CSS, my images, my JavaScript, and my index.html. That's my home page, if you will. And again, this could have a lot of pages in it, right? Again, this is that hello world example, but this could have 20 pages below it. Okay, so take that, and I'm going to go up to my zip program, however you zip it, and zip it. And it's going to zip that file, and I'm going to name it Hello World App V1. Okay, because I just want to make sure that when I update it. Okay, that's it. So I just took an existing website with a few tweaks and zipped it. Now comes the fun part. All I need to do is send that up to the service, and it's going to make an app for me. So how many of you, with a little effort, think you can do that? Just a little bit of effort? Okay, let's see. And some of you kind of, I don't believe that. Well, let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to Phonegap Bill. Let me get out of this one, and let's see if I have it open. Okay, so this is a service. It's https bill.phonegap.com. And again, all this is in my notes. So you got to sign up for the service first, get an account, and then, it'd be nice if you kind of read through this information. But you can look down at the bottom here and tells you, you got the free plan. You can create different apps based upon your level of subscription, right? I do everything for free, so I use the free version, right? But you could pay $9 a month, sign up, whatever. So anyway, I signed up with my Adobe account, and I get everything I need. So anyway, I'm gonna go and sign in rather, because I've already signed up, and hopefully, because I usually do this at my computer at home, so.
So it's creating the debug version, is that
What was that?
phase 2 to create the debug version, is that the zip?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I basically signed into this service. You can see these are the two apps that I have actually on Google Play store, if you will. In fact, I just released those 2 days ago. Now we're going to create our own app. Now again, remember what we just did. We took our regular responsive website. Again, this wasn't really responsive, just an image with text, right? But you take your responsive website, give it two tags, a tag and a script, right? And then you zip it, right? Now all I need to do is set it up. So let's do that. So what I want to do is new app, see the little button up that top there? I'm going to do a new app. And I'm going to do upload a zip file. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And this is option 1 that we're looking at. A little world, see that zip file we created? Double click on that. Bam, the app is built. Okay, and that's it. I know that was kind of anticlimactic, right? Y'all was expecting a little bit more.
Where does it put it?
Okay, it's still up there. What I need to do is download it. Okay? Now, all you have to do to download it okay, first of all, once you put it up, we got one other thing you need to do. Once you upload it, then you got to build it. Okay, get ready to build it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to click this button.
This is for Android, right?
This is for Android or iOS or Windows. You'll see all three of them being built.
I just saw the enable debugging and, okay.
It's building it right now.
But there were 2 options down there, I was wondering what those were.
That's more advanced features. You don't need to worry about the debugging and stuff. Right now, let's focus on just what we need, and then the advanced stuff you can learn later. Okay, so here are the 3 apps that it built. It built 2. Anytime you see it in red, that means that app did not build, and that's because Apple needs more information. You get, and now let me just say this. I probably wanted to say it later on, but I'm gonna say it now. With Android, you have to pay a $25 fee, one-time fee, to become an app developer. One-time fee, right? I tell people skip a couple meals, like me, because I need to, and pay $25 one time for life, and you can build as many apps as you want. Okay, that's Android. Apple, on the other hand, currently, and maybe this may be subject to change, you have to pay $99 a year to be an app developer. Again, that's the reason why I did it 1 year and I didn't get a chance to get an app out because it was really complicated, right? And so I never did get the opportunity to create an app. But you have to pay $99 a year to be an app developer. Now, $99 may not seem like a whole lot, but if you got 1 million developers, and you do have more than 1 million developers in the world, that's $100 million Apple gets every year, whether you create an app or not, whether it gets pushed out or whether you make anything on it or not. At least with $25, I'm not missing much, with $25. Okay. By the way, you don't make money off of apps. You typically make money off the ads that you put in your apps, and that's another class training right there, because that's what I've done with my apps. I've created ads the banner ads you see at the bottom of the full page ad. That's where you make the money. Okay, but that's another class. So anyway, created 3 apps, tried to create 3 apps. iOS, by default, is going to create iOS, and because iOS needs more information, it highlighted in red. The second one is Android, the little Android man, y'all see him right here? It created that one, and Windows. So notice it created all 3 apps. Just by uploading it, it runs its little process, it takes it and creates an app for you. Well, how do you get it on a phone is the question. Well, you see this little thing here? What is this right here? That's a QR code. Okay, all you need to do is download, if you don't already have one, download a QR reader, scan it, and it's going to put that on your phone. Just that easy. Okay, let me just show you that. So I got my phone here. Okay, y'all see that QR reader? Right? It's just like a little camera. And you're going to, I might be able to do it from here. Okay, that was cool. I didn't mean that I was going to do that, but I said, I got it up there. Okay, so I got it. I'm going to click OK. Watch me. Click OK. Give it a minute or two to download file. I want to download it. So it's taking it and it's going to download it on my computer. Hit save. And it said 1 file downloaded successfully. Hit open. Hit install. Hit open again. How many? Don't even think about it. Just hit the button 4 times, okay? And there it is. Okay? There it is. And again, this could be as complicated as you want it to be. To look at my app that I just uploaded. This is my app. And just show you, it could be fancy as you want it to be. I got animation, sounds, and everything. Now this is my little thinking inside of the box app, where I fold that circle into a box. And then I'm animating it. Okay, so that's it. That was it. To create a debug version of your app. Okay, let me rehearse the steps. Okay, you take your regular responsive website, right? Add 2 lines of code to it, make it mobile friendly, mobile ready. Zip it up, send it to the cloud, build it, and it's going to build 3 versions for you. You take your QR reader, take a snapshot of it, hit the button 4 times. Don't even think about what they are. Just hit it 4 times, right? And build your apps. There you have it. How many with a little effort do you think you can remember to do that? Okay, that's it. That's number 1 way of doing it.
Is there a difference between mobile friendly and mobile ready?
Well, yes. When I say mobile friendly, that is that meta tag that basically, you don't need that, but if you didn't do that, it would try to put your whole website into a viewport, and you had to constantly scroll around to look at your website. That's mobile friendly. In order to be mobile ready, I really need that Cordova.js JavaScript file in order for this thing to work. That's the mobile ready. So the mobile friendly, I don't really need it, but it'd be nice to have so it could look nice. You know, it's kind of like look at a website through a keyhole, right? You got to constantly move it to see it. You don't want that's the old days. That was 5 years ago.
The mobile friendly would be like if it's on a web browser, it could be mobile friendly too, but it's not mobile ready because it has to be an app to be mobile ready.
Right, exactly.
So the Cordova file, that's just for Phonegap.
That's what. Yeah, that's Phonegap specific. By the way, you don't need to have that file on your desktop. It automatically gets injected into by the framework to create the app for you. So you don't even need that Cordova.js file. You need that script file, or you don't need to have the file itself. actual file.
So the file is included automatically with the frameworks?
Yeah, when you send it up here, it's going to inject that into the zip to the APK file. The APK file that it creates, it adds that to it automatically.
Right, just by zipping it? It creates
Well, yeah, and then when I hit that build button,
Oh, when you build it, it adds
yeah,
it. Okay.
it will add that to the framework.
If you had any PHP, could it include that in there too?
I think I've never done it in a database-driven app, but I don't see any reason why I couldn't, because a lot of apps are database-driven. So I hadn't done it. I probably like to be able to do a database-driven app.
Other types of files, if you put the whole package of your whole app in there, it would accommodate it.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're going to do things that refers to like a database, whatever, you got to give access to what they call a cross-domain, right? So you got to make sure it has access to another server. Yeah, that's more advanced stuff.
Phonegap thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little bit more advanced, but I'm sure that you can do that.
So this isn't actually in the Google Play store yet, right?
No, it's not. This is a debug version.
So if we wanted to share this with other people, can we put that QR code like on a website somewhere, people can go and take a picture of it?
Yeah, you could take a picture of it here and send it to them. You saw I took a picture of it from there, right? So as long as they have the QR code, they can.
But we can actually put that QR code on the website that people would go to and then.
I've never done that, but I'm sure you can. You saw me take a picture of it from here, so.
Just repeat the question, so.
Yeah, can you, what was the question can you use the QR code?
Can you put the QR code on a website, so when people go to your website, they can take a picture of it? Yes.
So can you put the QR code on your website in order for them to use it? I think you can, because again, you saw me take a picture of the screen up here, right? So there's no reason why you couldn't do it from a picture or from your website.
One thing though with the Android, you need to make sure that you have install unknown sources unchecked in your
Right.
OS.
Good.
If not, it's gonna be like, hey, I don't know where this came from. I'm not gonna install it.
Good question. 5 brownies for that. You know, I get brownies in my class. They're calorie free. Virtual brownies. If you do download an app like this, you need to turn off what is unknown sources, right?
Yeah.
In your developer settings on your phone in order to download it. And I forgot about that because I had that turned off, off. Yeah, but good, well stated. Turn it off.
You also gotta be careful where you're downloading apps from. Just make sure that it's a trusted source.
Yeah.
At this point, it's not being vetted by Google, so just be careful that way.
And now when you go to Google, there's different, and when you see in Google Play, there's different levels of things that you can do as well in order to do alpha beta testing for other people. So you can send a email to someone and say, test my app for me. So you can do alpha beta, and then you release it to production. And that's all in the Google Council. We'll look at that hopefully. This is Google. I have never done an app for Apple.
Yeah, it only works in Android. iOS doesn't allow you any way from installing unknown sources. No. There's no way you can turn on developer options. At least they've changed it recently.
Okay, so there you have it. That's how you create a debug version of the app. Now, debug meaning you can only use it locally and all that fun stuff. We want to create a release version of the app that's the only way you can send it to the Google Play Store. So how do you do that? Well, before we do that, we want to add 2 additional things to our current app, if you will, in order to make it a little bit more mobile friendly, mobile ready. I'm kind of using those terms interchangeably. Notice when I created this app, it didn't give it a name, it didn't give it an image, and it didn't give it a short description. That's because it didn't have a config.xml file. Okay? It didn't have a config.xml file added to it. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going back to my app. Sound like I'm talking in a well. Look congested there. So I got this Hello World app, and I'm adding two more things to it. Okay, I'm adding this config file, and then I'm adding this RES, short for resource folder, that has basically all of the images for the various types of sizes, if you will, of devices. Okay, so notice there's an Android one, there's also an iOS. Okay, and iOS needs more because they have the, what they call a retina or whatever y'all call it, display, right? So you need more icons, you need twice as much, right? You see the 2x, that means the reason why you have so more for the, so anyway, you have icons and splash screens that you need, images that you need to create. The good news is that there's a lot of generators that will create those assets for you automatically. Because it's a pain to be able to create, 50 different types of images for icons in the screen, right? Well, there's generators out there that will create those images for you from a big image. You want to take a big image, and it's going to literally make as many images as it's needed based upon the platform. When you say platform, we're referring to Android or iOS or Windows.
What are those called? There's the one that's on the tab, on your, when you have that one.
That's the launcher icon on an Android. I don't know what it's called on the Apple,
So
but
like if you were seeking an app online that would make these and convert, what would you Google? What would you be searching for, or what creator?
just Google splash screen creator. Yeah, and I have a list of resources down in my notes there, and I'm gonna share that with you guys as well. So anyway, you got all of these assets. Now, let's say, now I didn't create these, so these were automatically created when I used the Phonegap desktop, which is the next option we're going to be using. So this is actually a little bit harder than the next option that we're going to be doing. But this one I'm going from start to finish, right? From literally from a website to the App Store and back. So you create your assets, or you have them automatically created for you, and you put it in a folder. Typically, it's called RES, right? Resource folder. And then you create this unique file called config.xml, right? So let me just open this up in Dreamweaver to show you what. Now, configuration file is what it does. It configures your application. Okay. Now, this may be a little bit intimidating initially, but it's not that difficult once you see it. So basically what you have here is you have a widget, right? That's your app. And notice Hello World, that's the name of the app, right? Then you have the description, that's the short description of your app that you see on the App Store, right? That's what you see there. And then you want to give the author, again, I didn't create this. This was automatically created, so the author is Phonegap. But you could change this to your name. Right? In fact, I could just type my name in there. Save it. And then you have the page that you're opening, that index.html file, right? And then you have a set of preferences. And again, this could be a whole lot of stuff. Again, most of this gets created for you automatically. With certain generators, it creates all of this stuff for you. I just cut and paste and update. And then you have a set of plugins. Now, again, the plugins that you need depends upon what you're doing. If you need internet, you might need one for the phone. You might need something for the camera or geolocation or whatever you have on your phone. You might have need a plugin for barcoding or Bluetooth. You need a plugin for everything, right? So you include the plugins that you need for your device. And for a simple app, you typically don't need no plugin. Okay. And then you have the platforms, right? So we have Android. And again, if I hover over these, you can see that, those pictures that you saw, those images you saw earlier, each one of those are represented here, right? And again, these are icons to accommodate various screen sizes, if you will, with icons.
These are icons for your splash screen?
Yeah, these are icons right here and then screens. So you see icon right here? And then you have your screens right here. So you have two sets of images based off that folder that you saw just a minute ago. Likewise, you have your iOS platform and all of its value, all of its resources, if you will. And then below that, you have your Android allow intent. Basically, if I want to send this to the App Store, you know, it says send it to the App Market, if you will. And then you got iOS. Again, you don't have to worry about this because most of this stuff gets generated for you automatically. And we'll see in the next option how this gets created. Okay, so, but the bottom line is you need this config.xml file. You'll see the reason why in a minute. Okay, so again, we took what we just had, what we created, now we're going to enhance it with two things, with the config file and with some assets, some images. Okay, so having done that, let's do the exact same thing, but we're going to include that in the package, in the zip file, if you will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one, right, because it doesn't have my config file or my images that I need. So now I'm going to take all of them, I'm going to zip it again, and this time it's going to include that config file. And we'll name it again, Hello World App V1. Again, you can rename it or whatever you want. Okay, the exact same step we did before, we just included a little bit more into the mix, right? Let's do the same thing we did earlier, but a little different. So let's go back to the App Store, the Phonegap Bill, rather. This time, since we already have an app, we don't want to create an app, we want to what? You guys are so smart. You want to update it. We don't want to create it, we want to update it. That almost sounds like a Chopinism. By the way, I do have an app called Chopinism. I'm known for my Chopin, most of you guys know that. And it's free, it's available only on the Android market right now. One day on the Apple's market. Okay, so what I want to do is update code, and I'm going to navigate to that file to update it. So I'm going to choose it, and there it is right there. Click upload. So it's going to upload there we go. It's going to upload, and you guys see it working down at the bottom here. I don't know if you guys can see it spinning right here. Can y'all see that? Okay, so it's recreating that app, but with the new assets from our config file and our images. Notice what it did. It added the images, that image from that image file, one of those images from that image file. Notice it gave me, remember the other one did, it just said PG or whatever it said, right? Notice it gave me an Hello World app. Remember that was the name of the app in that tag, name tag. That's what you put in the name tag, the name, okay? Rocket scientist, okay? And then you have the short description, right? You see the short description there. There you have it. It took that app and rebuilt a new version of it with those assets available. Now, let's see here. So you see it right here? Hello World app. So I'm going to delete this one. And you just hold it on Android. You just hold it and delete it. Uninstall it, hit OK. So to let you know that I'm not actually using the same one. Okay? So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to use my QR code reader. And this time I'm going to just go over here and click it. Heard it beep. Let me know I got it. Hit OK. Give it a minute. Download file. Save. Wait a minute. One file downloaded successfully. Hit open file. Hit install. Starting to install it. And then when you get the little check mark, say open. And there it is. Okay. The advantage now, though, is I have an icon and other assets for for the app that you need. So there you have it, okay? So now that we created an app, we've enhanced it somewhat, right? Let's move on to the next phase.
Is there any way you can, your users would have to, I know this is just a test, but your users would have to delete it and re-download it. There's no way to push it out to them?
Yeah, you could do that on the next when you put it out to Google Play. Well, I'll show that to you.
But for testing purposes, you have to download it again.
Yeah. Okay, so we did the debug version. We added the config file and the added the asset. Now we got to digitally sign it, right? So basically, you got to create a unique app that has been signed, so it can't be reused again. Somebody can't use your app name in the Google Play Store or Apple Store or whatever, right? And so you have to sign it digitally. Now, in order to do that, you got to download a JDK, and we don't have time to do all of that, but you download the JDK. That's a Java Developer Kit. That's something you just go and download, and it puts it on your computer. And then you basically you have to type in battery zone. Okay, you have to type in this code right here, this line of code at the command prompt, okay? And it's going to create a key store for you, what's called a key store. It's like a digital signature, okay? It's going to create that for you, and that's what you're going to use in order to sign your app, to create a release version. That's the only way you're going to get it up to the App Store is have a release version, not a debug, what you just saw a minute ago. You can only do that, locally on your computer and stuff. If you want to put stuff on the App Store, you got to have a release, emphasis on the word release version. Okay, so anyway, you're going to use this code at the command prompt. You type command prompt, get that little old DOS prompt. You remember that back in the 80s? Some of you guys are too young to remember that. And you create this key store, which is just a file. You're going to use that file to sign this app. And so I've already created one, so we're going to go back to the Phonegap Bill and use it. So, and by the way, you can create a key store or key if you just want to think of it as a key. You can create a key for every app. So you have 10 apps, you can have 10 keys, or you can create one key and use it on all of the apps, which is okay too, as long as you keep it to yourself, because you don't want to be losing. Once you create this key, you don't want to lose it because you can't get back into the app. If you lose it, you will not if it's there. So take pictures of it, back it up, whatever you need to do, put it in the cloud, and in a couple other places, because my chauvinism, back it up before you jack it up, right? And my backup has backups. So you got to have a backup of your key, okay? And that's what you do typically at home, right? You have a backup key, right? Don't you have two keys for your car? Lose one, you have another one, right? So you want to have a backup key. So once you make a key, back it up somewhere in a safe place. So let's look at how to you enter that information, and it's going to prompt you for all your information, your name, your company name, all that fun stuff, and it's going to create this key for you. So with that in mind, let's go back up to the Phonegap Bill cloud service and use that key. Now, what we just downloaded was the debug version. I want a release version because that's what I need to put it up in the App Store. So how to do that? See right here, when we're scanning this, and my mouse is going, my battery's going bad on my mouse. I got a refresh battery.
Battery's good.
Okay, this is a big mouse. I'm so used to a little small mouse. No, it'll work. Okay, so let's go in and add the key. So right now, there's no key assigned to this app, so I can't release it. So if I click on it, now I've created three apps actually. The Chauvinism app, right, which is listing my quotes, and then the two Thinking Inside of the Box app. I have a light version and a pro version of the Thinking Inside of the Box app, and they're all up on the Android market, right? And so I created these keys, but notice they are locked, right? So I need to unlock it in order to use it. So first of all, I'm gonna click on one of them. I'm gonna click on this one.
Why you unlocking that app to load the Hello World app?
You can use any key. Like I said, you can use any key.
Just to get the key?
Yeah, you can use any key for any app. You know, I get one key, and it could be for all of my apps. And I got a little lazy. I didn't want to create another key. I said I'll just use my Chauvinism key, right?
So you're unlocking it just to get
Yeah, got to unlock it to get to the key. And notice right now it's locked, right? So when I click on it, I got to give it the password. And again, when you use that big long string you saw, you're gonna be entering password and all that into that. You got to remember that password. Okay, so I'm gonna enter the password. Hopefully, I'll remember what it was. And I'm gonna submit it. Okay. Okay, so now it says unlock. You see that? So it unlocked that key store, if you will. Now I can use it for my app. So now that I have it unlocked, I can click the rebuild button, and it's going to rebuild that app. Now, if you're creating for multiple platforms, like in this case, iOS and Android, right? You can go up here and do the rebuild all, but I'm not doing iOS, so I don't need to do rebuild all from here. I could click this one for this one, and I click this one for the iOS if I had iOS key, but I don't.
Is the key, is that something you get when you went back here where you talked about getting $25 to be an app developer? Is it through that process?
No.
Or is that a separate?
That's a separate thing.
You signed up to do it to get the key.
To get the key, you got to go to the command prompt, enter that long code thing.
On any computer?
On any computer, yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to create this key. And you use that key. And that intimidated me it took me a long time to figure out how to do that. But once you do it, it's the same every time you do it. So once you get that key, then you can use it for all of the apps, or you can use it you create a different key for each app if you wanted to.
You don't need to have a subscription to be a developer before you get a key.
Right. Okay. So now I have a key, and I've unlocked it, so I can sign my app. So having the key help you to sign the app digitally. So let's do that. Oh man, what is the deal here? Error. I'm getting the problems. You don't want to see error. That's
So
not
when you
good.
said rebuild, it's rebuilding the Hello World app, not the Chauvinism app.
Yeah. That's just the key, and I'm running into some problems here. Incorrect key store pass. Oh, it doesn't like the key. Tell you what, let's do this. Let's take a 5-minute break. Let me see if I can let me see if I get the right key, and then we'll get back. Let's take a 5. And I don't think we have too many geeks in the house.
Go for it.
Okay, so anyway, I couldn't get the key store working, but what I do want to show you is what you will get once you do that. And so since I do have these already assigned, the ones that I do have on the Android market, so once you notice I have the key, Thinking Inside of the Box key store, if you will. if you click on the APK this time, you can download it, okay, to your desktop or wherever. And when you download it, the key to the note is, you see the keyword there, release? So this is your indication that this is a released version of your app. You have to have, emphasis there, you have to have a released version of your app in order to submit it. So once you add the key and you create it, you're going to download it, and then you're going to upload it to the Google Play or the Android or the Apple App Store. So now that I have the key, I'm going to save this to my desktop somewhere. So if I save, downloaded it right there. So let me, well, it's going to take a while. It's probably a big file. So it's going to download this thing to your desktop, wherever you put it, wherever you want to place it. And then you're going to upload this to the Play Store. So it's going to take a while to do that, and since I'm running out of time, let's go to the Google Play. I have it open here somewhere. Here we go. So here we go. You got to go here, developers.android.com/distribute console. There's a link on in my notes. You're going to go here and you're going to launch this Play Console, right? You sign up, you pay $25, right? And you're going to click this Launch Play Console. And you can see the apps that I currently have up there. I was experimenting with this one yesterday as a trial run for the class, so it's in draft. So I hadn't submitted it to the world yet, right? And that's what that is. And I have my Chopin, there's the one that's been up since May, an updated version of it. And then I have my two Thinking Inside of the Box app up there as well. I have a light version and a pro version of it. Typically what you want to do is create two versions of your app. Create a light version, very, very appealing, right? Where somebody says, man, I really wish I had the full version. Okay, so that's one thing you want to do. Or you want to add a lot of ads to your light version. Say, man, I really wish I had a version of this app that didn't have the ads. So my pro version is ad-free and it has more features. So that's what you typically do. Create two versions. One is real appealing. It's like, man, I really need this app, right? It's free. I want the pro version. You get the pro version without the ads, but with more features or levels or whatever. It's a game, whatever you want to do. So that's what I have here. So I have a light version and a pro version. So anyway, to create an app, you click the Create App button. Duh. You give the app a name. Adobe Users Group app. What about that? Okay, click Create. And you give it a short description. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to put, right? Give it a full description and product details. You need screenshots for both the phone and the tablets, and it tells you what you need for the phone and the tablets. And you got to give it those dimensions, right? And again, there's software that will create a lot of this for you. Or you can use Photoshop and create it. So you create all your asset that you need that shows up on Google Play, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then you want to say what type of app it is. This is an app and not a game. So you select the game, the type, the category. This is educational. And then content rating. So if you can list that, and you just complete all of this. And again, I don't have time to go through all of this, but you just fill in the blanks. Okay. Now, there's a lot of stuff there, but you got to make sure that each one of these, you see a little check mark, you need to make sure each one of these comes on. There's a little green check that comes on when you completed it, right? Like store listing, you want to say, is this an app free or is it a paid app? Let's see, does it come up? No, that's right here, price and distribution. Price and distribution. Whether it's paid or free, the thing is, if you make it free, it always has to be free. So it can't be free and then paid later on. So don't do that if you think you might, like one kid, he had it free, and then he said, well, I would like to be able to charge now. You can't do that. So once it's free for life.
Is that just on Android or?
That's on Android. I don't know about Apple. Okay, and it tells you. I mean, if you well, let me just see. Let me balk at it. Let's
Even
see.
if you delete
See right here? It's permanent. So you make it free, it's gonna always be free.
What's the cheapest you can go, a penny? Maybe it up.
You can, yeah, I've seen from typically 99 cents is a good value. I did $2.99, but I could put a sales price on it for a certain amount of period, right? Or you can go up. 99 cents to $10 is the most I've ever seen. I mean, with a few exceptions. Okay, with a few exceptions. But you could charge whatever you want. I mean, if you think you got this weird thing app that can save the world, the best thing since sliced bread, charge $20. You could. You probably most people don't make money off apps. They make it off of ads. Okay.
Plus Google takes 30%.
And by the way, well stated, Google and Apple takes 30% of the cut. So if I had an app and I'm selling it for $1, and and by the way, you have a worldwide audience. So $1 may not seem like a lot, but if you got 1 million people that like your apps, that's $1 million or $700,000. And I could live with $700,000. Believe me. I could live with $700,000. I could live with $500,000. I could live with $100,000. Right? So, you can get rich fast if you got a good app. And if it appeals to a mass audience, right? But you typically make your money off the ads. Okay, and I do have ads on my apps. Okay. So with that in mind, you just fill in the blank, and then it's going to tell you submit your app to production. Okay. Now you have some other places in here. You was mentioning about beta testing and all of that. And by the way, you can select all the countries. There's like 150 countries around the world that you can select. And I usually just do all of them. If it's available, do them. And then the dashboard. Let me see. I'm looking for the alpha beta things that you were interested in. That's not it.
So if you make it free and then you delete it and try to reload it as a paid one?
You probably have to change the name. I mean, there's always ways to circumvent it, you just change the name. And there's a lot of stuff you can add in this thing. Again, the only thing you got to concern yourself is the ones with the little bubble, right? Those you do need to have complete, and it's going to tell you what you're missing.
So these always run pretty well. I mean, don't have problems.
I hadn't had any problems. In fact, once you submit it, it takes 24 hours before you see it. It might take up to 24 hours before you see it. If you do a Google Play, so if I go, just do this real quick, because I want to do at least number 2. So if I do Google Play and I go to the Google Play Store, for example, and I'm going to do a search on what I created, the 2D geometric shapes, right? When I search, notice my 2 apps comes up at the top there. I have the free version, which is right here, and I have the pro version right there. You click the light version. You see, again, I created all these images, right? And then I created all of these screenshots right here. And I just took a screenshot, screen capture program. It took some screenshots of my different interface.
Is it a educational thing teaching you about shapes?
Yeah, this basically shows you how to easily estimate geometrical shapes by putting it inside of a box. And it's a free app. Take a look at it. And then and I gave myself a review. Because I could do that. In fact, I'm gonna rename it. I call it 2D geometrical area. Areas made easier. I'm gonna call it 2D games, just to play on words there. And it tells you information about when it was released just a couple of days ago, and who is it for, the ratings, and blah blah blah. Even got my address, which I don't particularly like. But you have information about what you put in that console. So you create the app. Again, you click install, and it install it on your computer, on your mobile device. And then it also shows you a list of your other apps by the same author. So notice I have my pro version, and I have my Chauvinism app, which has been out for about 3 years. And this is a list of my quotes on various topics that I've had. And it has a 5-star rating. There's only 2 reviews though.
Where do you see how many people downloaded it?
There's somewhere there says somewhere if you go to the Google Console, it tells you. Yeah. So, but nobody knows it out there. Nobody gonna look for chauvinism unless I tell them. It's not like you're gonna wake up one day and think of good app at chauvinism.
Do you have like a tag or something with it so they can be searching for something that's sayings or?
No, I don't. Now this was a little test app that I created, so I hadn't promoting in it. I hadn't promoted any of these apps. By the way, you have an app doesn't guarantee success. You got to promote it, right? So you use Facebook or whatever media you want to promote your app.
Can you use something besides just the name of it though for as a search
Oh yeah,
thing?
yeah. You can put the
metadata
metadata, yeah. And I think you do all of that in within the.
So if you want to send out the little square people to download your app or test it, do you send them a link to the debug or do you send them a link to the live version?
It's a alpha version of the app, and you send them a link, and it's not available to the public. There's on a store up there, right? But it's not available to the public as a whole.
And that's the debug version.
No, I think that's the release version. I think you have to send a release version. I hadn't done that because I just sent it up because I've tested it locally.
Maybe I do not understand this, but the CSS part, you know how the different browsers interpret it differently, so you always have to worry about the cross-browser compatibility and stuff. So what do you go with when you're doing an app?
Good question. Good question.
Always the same?
Typically, when you use a framework like jQuery Mobile, it takes that variable out of the equation because jQuery Mobile is going to be viewed the same across the platforms.
So if you were creating it, would you create it like on Chrome, or what would you create on to make sure it looks good on that one, then it's going to look good in the app, or create it in IE, which would look maybe.
I don't really worry about any of that. I just
It adjusts it for
yeah.
you?
I don't. I just create it. I like Firefox. I test everything in Firefox. I hate IE, and I might test it in Chrome. But these days, there's very minor differences. In the past, 5 years ago, that was a big issue. But with HTML5, that's less and less of an issue, particularly with Edge now. Anyway, I want to do number 2, option 2, which is even easier than what we just did. Okay, so let's look at option 2 on how to create an app. And hopefully we can get to 3. So, every time I teach, I have a lot of information, and I always like to say it's like putting a 2-pound bologna in a 1-pound bag. For you country folks, y'all know what that is. Try to squeeze a lot into a little time. So this is another way to create an app. It's using download this program called Phonegap Desktop. Okay, it takes all of the guesswork out of what to do. Okay, and it automatically creates a config file for you. Automatically creates some assets, and you got to replace it with your own assets, but at least it creates them, and creates everything. It creates the index file for you with those 2 tags that I told you about, right? So this is literally 1 minute, okay, to create an app. I mean, you like that, okay? Save the best for last, right? Okay, so let's look at that. So what I want to do is create a new app, right?
Program you have to download
you download Google Phonegap develop desktop, right, and download that app. Takes a minute, and then it's gonna show up like this. So I'm gonna click on this little button right here, plus sign, and you have an option to either create a new app or opening an existing app. So I'm click create a new app, and you have different templates that you can use. Well, they go to Hello World again, but you can use these other frames. We'll use Hello World since we've been in that vein. So I'm gonna click on that option, it's already selected, and I'm gonna click the next button. I'm gonna give the app a name. I'm gonna navigate to where I want to save the app, I should say, and so I'm gonna save it in my option 2 folder. There's nothing in that folder right now, right? It's just empty. So I'm gonna click that. So that's where it's gonna save it. I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna call it Hello World 2 app. What about that? Okay. And then you give it an ID. Now the ID is typically what we call a reverse domain notation, right? So typically it's company.com, it'd be com.company. Whatever the name of the app is. That's a unique identifier for any app, particularly in the App Store, right? That's what we call a reverse. Now, you need that. So all you got to do now again, we went to a folder to tell it where to save it. We gave the app a name. How many of you can do that with a little effort? Okay, click the create button, the create project button. Wait for it. Wait for it. And it's creating it behind the scene, right? Open it.
And this will give us the debug version.
This will be a debug version. You got to do the same steps that you saw earlier to do the release version. You got to do that command prompt, right? Send it up to the store. Everything else is the same as, that's why I did the first one from start to finish.
You listed 4 different applications to bring.
Yeah, and I'm on number 2.
Yeah, but which one would you recommend to use?
I recommend using this one right here for beginners because it takes all the guesswork out of, the config file. It takes the guesswork out of adding those 2 lines of code. It creates the index file for you. It does everything for you. So that's more advanced stuff. You don't want to mess with that unless you're an advanced user.
But it creates more complicated.
Yeah, but it can take your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and make an app out of it for you as well. But typically, you use Java with Android Studio, typically. But you can use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I do have some links in my notes to that end. Okay, and what is the deal? Because usually it doesn't take that long. Try that again. Oh, I must have created it, didn't realize it. Yeah, it just didn't tell me. Okay, so anyway, it created this app for me. And by the way, your website is in the www, that's the World Wide Web, folder. And again, you see your CSS folder, image folder, JavaScript folder, all of that got created for you. Life is good. And then you got your resource folder with all the images and stuff in it, right, for all of the different platforms.
I missed at the very beginning, what did you get that you grabbed and put into this
Nothing.
application to create this?
I did nothing.
This is all empty stuff?
Yeah, I had an empty folder.
Oh, okay.
I had literally an empty folder.
Oh, these are all empty folders.
Well, no, this is what it created for us just by clicking that create project button, but for some reason it's not working correctly. So
You didn't select any files before you went in and created the project?
no, let me do it over again because
getting short.
Okay, yeah. And you got 10 minutes, I know.
Or 5 will do.
Okay.
Is the template your previous app?
No, this is literally creating an app from nothing. And then you take your website, all your pages and folders and stuff, and create it from there. Okay, so here we go. Let me see if it took it that time. Yeah, so that is. For some reason, it would show it to me, but there we go. We got the same app you saw earlier. Because actually, I used this program to create that first thing that you saw earlier, right? So literally with nothing, click one button to create my app. So let's go back and look at that. So this is all of the stuff that it created just by clicking to create. I gave it a name. I gave it a folder, right? That's all I did, literally, right? Click the create project button. It goes in and creates all of these folders: CSS, JavaScript, HTML, config file, images. All of that gets created automatically. How you like that? I love the word automatically. I get excited about that. And then everything you need is right in here. There go your CSS, images, JavaScript, right? All of that got created for you. And then there's go your index.html file. I didn't create that, right? And if you open that up in Dreamweaver, you'll see that it's just a standard HTML file that you saw earlier. In fact, it was the same one because I used it.
How did it get your images and everything?
Oh, it takes that from a database and it creates it. So
How do you link to, how does it know where to go get the stuff?
it has, well, these images are always the same. So if you create an app, it can always have that same image. You want to replace it with your own content.
Okay, so it gives you kind of like
Just
the template.
exactly. That's what it is.
And it's gonna have just
Right.
like
It's just going to be a template for an app. You go in and put your own logo there, right? Your own text.
JavaScript and the CSS, you exchange out those and put in your own.
Put your own, exactly. In fact, you can take that www folder, you take your website that you created, delete what's in that www folder, put your stuff, bam.
Yeah, so you're just filling up the folders with your own files.
Exactly. Okay, so that was version 2 of creating an app. And I wanted to go version 3, but I think we're running out of time. It's rather easy, but I'm gonna just do it real quick to show you this, and then we call it a quits. So you go to the command prompt, and you're gonna type in Phonegap. So I type in Phonegap. By the way, you got to download Phonegap and install it. This is Phonegap CLI. This is option 3. Okay. Now I'm just typing in Phonegap to show me all of the things I can do with Phonegap. Just in a minute. It's less slow today.
Option 3 is Phonegap CLI.
CLI. And option 4 is using Android Studio, which is a more advanced feature, which I didn't have time to do. And this is taking quite a bit of time. Okay, there we go. So there you go, right there. This is all the things you can do with Phonegap. So the way to create an app, you do Phonegap. Let me go back to my notes to make sure. So here we go, right here. Let me copy this just for the sake of time. So I'm typing in Phonegap. I'm telling it to create Hello World app. That's the name of the app. And I'm giving it a unique ID, right? Which is, again, is a reverse domain notation. Hit enter. And basically it created that folder with basically the same material in it under my Cornelius Chopin. If I look up Hello World, there's probably a folder in there called Hello World with all the assets in it. In fact, you see it right here? So just with one command, it created an app with all assets in it. In fact, some of you guys don't believe that, so let me see if I can go to it.
So again, you're setting up a template.
It's just a
Put
template.
everything into it, just folder structure.
And you just put whatever you want into that folder. So if I go to my PC, my C drive, what was it? Users, Cornelius, Hello World app. See that? One command, right? How many do that? Just hit the enter key. Okay? Click that, bam. Same exact stuff that you've seen 3 times, right? One command. If I go to www, same exact stuff you saw with the desktop, but this is for only geeks. If you want to, some of you guys are geeks. You're like, I hate this stuff. But watch, if I click on it, exact same stuff with one line of code. There you have it. Okay, so 3 ways of creating an app. Phonegap Bill, set it up to the cloud, zip it up, send it up to the cloud, create it. You can use a desktop, you create it. Again, swap your stuff out in that www folder, and then do all the other stuff like we showed, make a debug version of it, make a release version of it, upload it, send it to Google Store. Or you can do the CLI, if you like the command line, type it in. You can say build an app, build a platform, build a plugins, and run it. I mean, it's literally like 4 lines of code to create an app.
Do you have that CLI line?
Yeah, I do. I have all of that. I do. In fact, and then you go down here, tell you basically, if you want to add a platform for Android, you type in platform, add Android. If you want iOS, you do platform, add what? Wow, you guys are so smart. Okay. And then if you want to add and then move your stuff into it and do the same. In fact, look, most of these things, I'm telling you to do the same thing in step 1. Do phase 2 through 6 of option 1, right? On the other 3 options, right? So once you understand how to do one, these other ones becomes fairly easy. And the thing is the same thing over and over. You create a website, you use one of these tools to create it, and then you debug it, release it, upload it. That's it. Now, again, there's probably a little bit more involved than that, but just at least kind of give you a flavor. And for me, I was intimidated about building apps. I thought you had to be a geek to build an app, right? You do not have to be a geek to make an app. So let me say that. You don't have to be a geek to make an app. Can I say that? Well, I just said it. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something. I always teach myself happy. And we'll conclude it with that.